When taunting an enemy on Dragonback, oops is never really a good thing. Greetings and welcome once again to Roman of the Empire. I am your host, Roman. Today we are talking about House of the Dragon, Episode 10, The Black Queen. Every episode in this series has been good. Some have been better than others, but they've all been good, and the finale was great. You get a lot of maneuvering as war is coming. And we actually learn a little bit more Rhaenyra's motivations in last week's episode when we talked about why didn't she kill everyone. She delivers the line this week that war is not mine to begin. Okay, I guess you're going to pick a side, but she doesn't want to start it. Fair enough. But no one really wants to start the war, but everybody knows it's coming. It's on the way. And in this episode, we see a lot of trying to shore things up from the House Targaryen side, Rhaenyra words, and Daemon. Whereas last week we were dealing with largely the Hightower side of things. Rhaenyra's shows up and lets them know that Viserys is dead and that Aegon has been crowned king. Not entirely shocking, I think. Certainly Viserys' death wasn't, but the crowning of Aegon, they suspected was probably coming. But the realization that it's there now puts them in a spot where they have to not only respond, but respond heavy, because there's no way. The kingdom is now split. And we get some. Remember in last week's episode we had Sir Eric and Sir Auric, and I didn't know who was who. Well, I know who was who now, which is helpful. And we'll get to that in just a second. So Rhaenyra delivers the news to Rhaenyra and Daemon. Rhaenyra is clearly pregnant, not like super pregnant now, and now the baby is coming. Probably all the stress, shocking, and she's now forced into labor. And this show, I don't particularly like the way they deal with childbirth, and I also think that it's very intentional. Don't watch any of the post-show stuff if you want to continue to enjoy the show. The writers have some very specific ideas, and they're not subtle about them in those post-shows. But you get scenes like this, the brutal stillbirth of the baby, and Rhaenyra at one point screams, "Get out!" It's an ugly scene, and people will say, well, childbirth back then, yes. But this show makes a point of forcing that image into people's head. It's a good show. That's the one nitpick. So she has this terrible birth. And now things have to get moving. She doesn't really have a lot of recovery time on this. Daemon is Daemon, and he wants to go full bore on this thing. She does not. There's an odd scene where he kind of grabs her by the throat and basically, my way is the right way conversation. All right. Now, Sir Auric arrives at Dragonstone. He's the one who left last week during the fight when they were trying to procure Aegon Eric and Arik. Arik left. Where's your brother? Well, he left. And what he left to do, aside from rescuing Rhaenyra's, forgive me, the names are all very similar, the queen who never was, he also got Viserys' crown. And he brings it to Rhaenyra. And there's a coronation ceremony on Dragonstone. And like I said, the allegiances have to be declared now. It's the war is on. It's official. Well, the war isn't on, but it is. But Rhaenyra and Daemon get the sea snake back. He's not dead. What? No, he survived. Lord Corlys is back. And there's a really just brilliant scene around that great table in the war room, the planning room at Dragonstone. And he gives them a pretty good plan. He owns the Narrow Sea now. And they can block trade to King's Landing, basically choking out the resources and just rolling in after the city pretty much tears itself apart, or the citizens rise up against their king because they're starving. It's a pretty solid plan. And it's good to see Lord Corlys back. I didn't think he was going to make it. And Daemon is talking about the dragons. And you don't really think, they have dragons, but you don't really think about how many or all of that. And Daemon notes that there are 13 dragons controlled by Rhaenyra, Daemon, and everybody at Dragonstone. That block of the Targaryens. And eggs. And there are also 3 dragons that are not controlled, but that are there. They're wild, which is interesting. Again, we don't really think about these things. And the High Towers control 3 adults and a baby. So, interesting thing about dragons, though, is they're not all equal as far as power and size. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. Otto Hightower comes to Dragonstone to offer terms, so to speak, from Queen Alicent, because remember, I'm hot and cold with Alicent as to what her motivations actually are. In this scene, we get the olive branch that they can rule Dragonstone. They will be left alone. It will pass on to their heirs. It's essentially their chunk of the kingdom. But she has to bend the knee to Aegon. This is a good scene, and it's juxtaposed by an earlier scene in episode 1 or episode 2, where Daemon steals the dragon egg and Rhaenyra flies in to procure it from him, and when they are on opposite sides. And now Daemon is facing off with Hightower, and Rhaenyra flies in again, this time to face off with Hightower. And it's a good juxtaposition scene. Hightower offers the terms. She rejects the terms. He hands her a piece of paper. And what it is, it's the page that she tore out of a book that she and Alicent read when they were kids. That's in episode 1. So that's hearkening back to that relationship that they had, and that Alicent kept it all these years. They were friends, and not just in passing. They were best friends, and this is a hard thing, probably for both of them. But it's a harsh world in House of Dragons. Needless to say, the terms are rejected. Hightower shuffles off. Now Daemon and Rhaenyra have to basically, the houses that had pledged allegiance to them before, they need to shore that up and make sure that those still stand. And this is where things get nasty. So Daemon and Rhaenyra send the kids off on Dragonback with messages to these other kingdoms who had pledged allegiance to them. We follow Luce. I think he's the second oldest of the Targaryen children. He goes to House Baratheon. Lord Boros Baratheon is already meeting with Aemond. He is there, looking smug and one-eyed. And Boros is he's kind of a dick. Young Luce presents the message from Queen Rhaenyra, and Boros is like, "Reminder, what do you offer?" The Targaryen Hightower, Aemond, has brought an offer of betrothal to the Baratheons. Have a lot of daughters, and you bring nothing. Basically, he's telling them to get along now. But after this exchange, Aemond approaches the young man, who's the one who took his eye, I believe, and wants him to. He's like, "Hey, pluck your eye out." And Boros is like, whoa, not in my hall. And he tells his guards to escort Luce back to his dragon and to bugger off. Okay, well, not in my hall doesn't mean not in my airspace. And you see the young man basically itching to get out of there, and he does, and he gets on his dragon and he flies off. Well, Aemond pursues him. And remember, Aemon has the massive dragon, Vhagar, the biggest known dragon that they have in the world at that time. Well, the younger dragon, Arax, the younger dragon that Luce is riding, kind of goes rogue. Remember, dragons it's a loose relationship. They allow them to ride them, but the dragon's sometimes going to do what the dragon's going to do. He tries to attack the much larger dragon, Vhagar. Vhagar, and you see just the size difference in the scenes here between the two dragons. Arax is big, but he's not massive. Vhagar is massive. He just dwarfs the other dragon. And he responds to the attack by biting Arax in half and subsequently Luce. This was not Aemon's intent, and you can see it immediately on his face. This was an oops. His dragon did what his dragon was going to do. He responded against Aemon's wishes and killed the son of Rhaenyra and Daemon. Well, any hope of salvaging the relationship between the two houses is now destroyed. News of this gets back to Rhaenyra in that giant room with the fantastic table. And the look on her face is just cold. And there are no words in that final scene, just the look on her face. And you know what's coming. That was the episode. So much stuff, so good. The dragon scenes were fantastic. And the optics, just the look of this episode was really well done. We spent a lot of time at Dragonstone, and I was okay with that. I loved the look of the room, the table, the shots on the bridge with Hightower and Daemon and Rhaenyra. This was epic. This was epic. In ways that many shows are completely incapable of. I'm talking to you, Rings of Power. they've done a fantastic job with the show. So this is season 1. Let's hope they continue on with season 2. I think they probably will. Who knows, though? Remember, Game of Thrones was going strong, and then it wasn't. But source material for this is already there. So they don't, the writers don't get to say, oh, well, I guess we're out of stuff. And like they did in Game of Thrones, and then everything went south, of course. Let me know what you thought about this one. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant and strong, and you know where the next season is opening. Well, at least you think you know. Is there going to be another time jump? Are we going to come in the middle of the war? Don't know. But I'm excited to find out. And in this age of television, which is not very exciting, I'm excited to see what the next season is going to bring us. This has been Roman of the Empire, signing off. Please like and subscribe, as it does help the channel. Be kind.